Hello and welcome to Pursuit of Perfect Systems review for the Arcam P49 Class G stereo power amplifier. Arcam is a brand we all know. They've been in business since 1976, over 40 years of selling hi-fi and AV equipment. Their first product was the Arcam A60, an integrated amplifier which sold over 30,000 units for a manufacturer's first product, which is outstanding. It's the only company that I'm aware of that uses Class G amplification, and they've won many awards across the industry press. In terms of personal brand desirability for me, when I was first getting into the hobby, I had budget entry-level equipment, and I remember looking at the Arcam equipment, higher priced equipment, and really lusting after it, thinking it must be very good equipment. I managed to pick up a used AVR 280, I think it was from memory, which was a lovely unit, really nice quality, really nice looking unit, and a good sounding unit. Way ahead of the budget equipment I've been using up until that point. However, since then, the other products that I've seen from them didn't really fill me with that much confidence, and I ended up falling away from interest to the brand, and actually buying and falling more interested in Meridian Audio, their kind of Cambridgeshire rivals to a degree. And two things got me interested in reviewing this amplifier. One was recommendation from Nintronics, obviously my dealer, and secondly was obviously Kef have been using them with their reference range to demo them at the different shows that they've been to. So had it not been for those two things, maybe I wouldn't have reviewed this equipment. And looking back, I'm very glad that happened, because I've actually really enjoyed my time with this Arcam amplifier, and it's actually completely changed my view of the brand and the equipment that they make. Now, design is an interesting thing because it's completely individual, and everyone's got their own view, obviously. Now, some people might look at this amplifier and think it looks like the love child of a drunken night between a breeze block and a suitcase. And you make them right to a degree. It's very kind of industrious. And really, for me, Arcam have been sensible with this amplifier. And please don't think by sensible I mean bad, because I really don't. I just think they've been very, very sensible in a lot of areas, and I'll try and cover them obviously as we work our way through the review. But let's look at design. Really, this is a large amplifier. It's big. It's bigger than the Briston 9B SST, which is the amplifier accompanying our reference system. This is taller, and partly because of that, I think, is to house the transformer which is inside, which is absolutely massive. The photos you see online of the internals of this, taken from I think Stereophile, doesn't do it justice. When you look through the grills, it is a big toroidal transformer inside this amplifier. That is a big selling feature for me. But looking actually at the visual design, really it's quite simplistic in its design. Really, even to the point for me, these grills are functional as opposed to visual. The buttons are, reassuringly clunky, but not pretty. The grille at the front, for me, is possibly an afterthought, just to break up the fact that it's very much a rectangular box that could easily be mistaken for, a suitcase if it was by your granny, if it was kind of a dark evening or so. So there's not really a lot to look at, in a sense. However, that doesn't bother me at all. I'm a function over form man anyway, but for me, Arcam have really been sensible with the design. Kept probably the same layout across the different products that they sell, and just kept the manufacturing of it simple in a way, as part of keeping the cost down, which obviously we'll speak about in a minute. So it's not an ugly amplifier. I actually quite like the colour. It's actually advertised as black, but to me this is more of a graphite kind of grey colour, which anyone who's seen this colour of Arcam will know what I mean. I actually think it's nice. Funny enough, I was looking at it this morning just before I broke it all down to do this review, and I was sitting there looking at it thinking that actually looks really nice, obviously sitting in my rack. But it is a dark room, it is the black cinema room. So just looking actually at the rear of the amp, which we'll quickly turn around. It's the same really for me with the rear. Simplistic inputs, that's all we really need. For me, at this price point, I would have liked to have seen better quality speaker binding posts used. I mean, these actually do up and undo quite okay, And yeah, most people would put speaker cables in this and probably leave them in them for years, but these just don't feel that high quality to me. And for this price of amplifier, you know, why could they not have put some WBT binding posts on this, or maybe some Furatech binding posts on this? These to me don't feel very high quality by comparison to those. And you know, I may be alone in this, but for me, I would prefer to pay a little bit extra, or them charge a little bit extra, and have quality here. For me, that would, you know, that kind of would seal the deal for me, as opposed to, oh, leave me, I'm in an iron. Other people would probably prefer to have the cheap binding posts and pay less, but for me, that little bit of extra quality I would pay for personally. And another thing to point out, when I first put the amplifier in the system, it really didn't sound very good. It sounded very lackluster. I knew something was incorrect. And it's important to point out, you've got the two gain settings here, 31 decibels, 25 decibels. Now, single RCA will be 25 decibels and balanced input will be 31 decibels. Now, in the manual, that's not very clear. It should be, to me, it should be it should be a simple and easy set of instructions in the manual to explain that. Okay, so let's talk about the specification of this amplifier. 200 watts at 8 ohms and 400 watts at 4 ohms, with low distortion figures as well. Bridge mono, 400 watts at 8 ohms, and I think 800 watts at 4 ohms. Obviously, I think should know that. This was enough power to drive the KEF reference speakers, which are a low sensitivity, need quite a lot of power really to sort of get the best out of those. However, when KEF were demoing the KEF reference speakers, they was using these in bridge mono to give it 400 watts. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't able to test that. But when you think about it, if you've got any 4 ohm speakers, like what I previously had, Monitor Audio Platinums, KEF blades, or any other 4 ohm speakers, with this amplifier you get 400 watts of power each side for that, which is really a lot of power for the money you're paying. So spec wise, if you use certain speakers, regardless of the speakers you use, you get a lot of power. 200 watts at 8 ohms is a lot of power. 400 watts at 4 ohms is a hell of a lot of power. Again, that's Arcam being sensible with this product. They're able to offer an amplifier which is powerful enough across a big variety of speakers. So if you've got 4 ohm speakers, 400 watts per channel for your money with this amplifier, which is a hell of a lot. The live with ability of this amplifier. I'm not sure if live with ability is a word, but that is the word we're going to use for this section of the review. This is a really easy amplifier to live with. It's got a fantastic, very simple and clear and easy on-off cycle. So after 5 hours, maybe 6 hours of use, you know, played loud, the amplifier is barely warm. If you feel warmth, you can tell when an amplifier is hot, because it'll be hot across the whole amplifier. A lot of amplifiers, the Bryson for example in the reference system, kind of gets equally hot across the whole amplifier, bearing in mind that is 5 channels. But this amplifier gets warm above the heat sinks, and the rest of the amplifier is barely, you know, kind of room temperature, which is impressive really after, you know, 5 or 6 hours of you know, being pushed hard. So you know, it's been hot the last few weeks, so an amplifier like this is fantastic. So you know, in terms of the heat this generates, it's very easily livable, as is the power consumption. The power consumption is very moderate really for the power that it actually generates from a an output power. Arcam have been very sensible from a live with ability point of view. So you know, very minimal heat generated, a minimal amount of actually power consumption being used, and yet still generating, you know, potentially 400 watts per side from a single stereo power amplifier. Such is the magic of really of Class G amplification, really, which is all about high sound quality and high efficiency. Sound quality, the interesting part of it, I'm sure you're all most interested in. yeah, I've really enjoyed my time with this amplifier. This is a good sounding amplifier. I really wasn't sure. I really wasn't sure whether this would be as good as the Bryson that obviously I've been using in the reference. What immediately struck me was initially the presentation of sound. From this amplifier, the sound was played gently, not gently. The sound was played to me rather than at me, with kind of like a gentle touch. I was impressed with the timing. I was impressed with the layering. I was impressed with the soundstage. However, it was too much of a gentle touch, really, for me. The sound needed a bit more kind of fleshing out and a little bit more kind of guts and a bit more body. I set to work with the usual tweaks that I do with most things. So this amplifier responded really well to isolation products, both underneath and on top, which if you see in the videos, you'll kind of see what I'm doing there. And I appreciate that is an area of contention and a like a snake oil type area, etc. So you can take from that what you will. But for me, that helped flesh out and help improve the kind of the body and the fullness and richness of sound that I was getting from this amplifier. But something still wasn't quite right. It didn't take long really for me to realise kind of the gain, the volume structure of this amplifier is very different to the Bryson. The Bryson gets louder much quicker obviously with the Meridian preamp. This took a hell of a lot higher level on the preamp to reach the same volume level. So it required me to run a full Dirac setup again for this amplifier at higher preamp level. After that, that completely alleviated all the negatives of the sound that I was experiencing. Then I was getting an almost as fleshed out sound as the Bryson amplifier, but with better layering, better timing. That is one thing this amplifier does very well, is timing. The detail is all there. Very nice treble detail. It's a very balanced sound. That's something that I need to stress. It's a very balanced sound. Nothing really kind of stands out in the sound, so you know it's just very even and very balanced. It's the kind of sound that really doesn't draw your attention to the amplifier. This is not an amplifier that you'll put on and within 10 minutes be blown away from it. I don't think it's that sort of product. It's the sort of product that the more you listen and the more you listen to familiar content, the more you start to appreciate the benefits of this amplifier. So back to what I said previously, it plays music to you and not at you, which is not the case for all amplifiers. In fact, far from it. I said it's got a gentle sound. It's not really what I meant. It's kind of got a gentle touch. So the sound is layered and organised in a very nice way, and you're able to track fine details of the sound as part of the overall presentation. But none of those sounds are analytical. None of it kind of is separated. It's very much a cohesive whole. But you're able to pick out and track individual elements of that sound through a mix. But yet they never really are quite pronounced enough to fully get your focus through a whole song. So while you may focus on a bit for a couple of seconds, before you know it, you're kind of back immersed in the musical whole. And to me, that's the difference between clarity and something being analytical, where you can't pull yourself away from listening to the individual elements of things and kind of enjoy the music. So you could say this amplifier is musical, but I am extremely picky and extremely fussy and quick to criticise and quick to want to mess around and make changes with this with things in my system. But with this amplifier, never once did I feel it was letting the side down. Never once did I feel it was underpowered. Never once did I feel it was out of control. And that is one of the big strengths with this amplifier, is the louder it gets, the tonality and that sound balance doesn't change. And that is really nice and really amplified. It didn't matter how loud I set the volume, the composure, the control, that kind of gentle touch, the soundstage and the layering all remained exactly the same, and that was really nice and really impressive. And I touched briefly on control in terms of the sound quality of this amplifier, and that's one of the things that impressed me the most. Now, a sound can be controlled across mid-range, it can be controlled across the treble, but when it comes to bass, controlling your bass is well, funny enough, you think an amplifier might have good bass until you hear an amplifier with better bass, and then all of a sudden your views completely changed. And that is what happened with this. That is what happened with this amplifier. Brysons are renowned for good bass, and the bass of that the reference system 9B SST is very good. However, I've read recently a different reviews of amplifiers where they've spoke about the power of the amplifiers actually kind of put itself on the sound. No, that is not how this amplifier sounds. That is more how kind of the Bryson sounds, and surprisingly, it's in the bass. The clarity in the bass I've been getting from this Arcam P49 amplifier has been really impressive. And again, with that gentle touch to the bass, there is enough bass, and the bass is articulate and it's controlled. But because it's got a gentle touch, and it's not overblown and it's not over full, or it's not too full. It doesn't cloud parts of the mid-range, and it doesn't cloud parts of the treble at times. As a result, is you get really articulate, smooth, and detailed bass. But either way, with this amplifier, I was able to hear that kind of deeper into the recording of that instrument, more plucks of the instrument strings, and that sounds like a typical hi-fi thing to say for a reviewer. I can hear more detail, or details were coming through, but that literally was the case with this amplifier for the bass region that it was doing from the KEF reference speakers. So as I've said a couple of times through this review, I've really enjoyed my time I've spent with this amplifier. It's grown on me. The more I've used it, the more it's grown on me, and then the more it's made me appreciate this amplifier. Arcam have been very sensible. So this isn't really what I would class an expensive amplifier. I'm not being coy, I'm not being facetious with it. It's, £3,250. There's a lot of money still, but when you can compare it to the market, there's a lot of other amplifiers costing much more, and on paper giving you less. Now, for 200 watts and 400 watts at 4 ohms, for £3,250 for a high efficiency amplifier which doesn't kick out a ton of heat, which is easy to live with. It's a little bit big, it's a little bit on the tall side, however I'm sure you could get away with it in a kind of more enclosed rack. I'm not advising that you do that, but I'm sure a lot of people buy amplifiers and they stick them in racks that are too small for them and kind of hope for the best. So with an amplifier that doesn't kick out a stupid amount of heat, you're going to get away with that more. So you might not need to buy a new rack. I think this would work with a lot of different speakers. So if you're looking for a 2-channel power amplifier, you should consider this one. Regardless of speakers, you should consider this amplifier. This amplifier does everything well. It's not a star in any area, but it does everything well, and that can't be underestimated and kind of underappreciated, really. In terms of long-term listening and long-term enjoyment from a system. We have a dual rating system for our reviews on this channel. We have thumbs up or thumbs down ratings. So we have five options, anything from double thumbs down, in the middle, thumbs up, double thumbs up. So that rating is irrespective of kind of price. It purely easily gets a double thumbs up, no question about it. Now, the next rating, would I buy this with my own money? Now this is purely a performance versus price ratio, and this is an easy yes. I would buy this amplifier with my own money. This is an easy buy. This is an easy purchase for me, and I'm extremely fussy and extremely critical. This works really well with the KEF reference speakers, but I'm confident it's going to work with a hell of a lot of different speakers. So if you're in the market for a stereo power amplifier, if you're in the market for an integrated amplifier around the £3,000 to £4,000 mark, you should definitely shortlist and definitely demo this amplifier. It's fantastic. Speaking of dealers, Nintronics, the dealers in St Albans that have lent, it's not in St Albans, in Welwyn Garden, that have loaned me this unit for review, they're fantastic. If you're interested in buying this, any AV equipment or any hi-fi equipment, they hold a huge stock, absolutely huge stock of speakers. They're fantastic to deal with, and I honestly recommend you speak to them.